Deep work, the skill that will make you unstoppable. Part 1. The Age of Distraction. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning. Before your feet touch the floor, before you make your bed, before you think about your goals, your future, or your dreams, your hand reaches for your phone. Just one quick look, one notification, one message, one video, one post, and suddenly, 20 minutes are gone. Then 30. Then an hour. The day hasn't even started, and your attention has already been stolen. This is not an accident. The modern world is fighting for your focus every second of every day. Social media platforms compete for your attention. News outlets compete for your attention. Apps compete for your attention. Advertisers compete for your attention. Even people compete for your attention. Because attention is the most valuable resource in the world. Not money, not talent, not intelligence. Attention. Because whatever has your attention eventually shapes your life. Think about it. If your attention is constantly pulled toward distractions, your life becomes distracted. If your attention is focused on growth, your life grows. If your attention is focused on learning, your knowledge expands. If your attention is focused on creating value, success becomes possible. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your focus. And yet, most people have never been more distracted. They start a task. 5 minutes later, they check their phone. They return to work. 10 minutes later, another notification appears. They answer an email, open a message, watch a short video, scroll for a minute, then another minute, then another. Hours disappear, days disappear, years disappear, and at the end of it all, many people wonder why they feel stuck. Why they aren't making progress. Why their goals remain dreams. The answer is simple. They have lost the ability to focus deeply. This is where the idea of deep work enters the picture. In his groundbreaking book Deep Work, Cal Newport argues that the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks is becoming increasingly rare. At the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable. That means a strange opportunity exists. As the world becomes more distracted, people who can focus gain a massive advantage. While others are scrolling, they are building. While others are consuming, they are creating. While others are reacting, they are advancing. And over time, that difference changes everything. Most people believe success comes from working harder. But hard work alone is not enough. Many people work hard every day. They are exhausted, busy, overwhelmed, yet they make little progress. Why? Because being busy is not the same as being productive. Being occupied is not the same as creating value. You can spend 12 hours doing shallow work and accomplish less than someone who spends 3 hours in a state of intense concentration. This is one of the most important lessons in the entire book. Deep work is not about doing more things. It is about doing the right things with complete focus. Imagine a laser. When light is scattered, it has little impact. But when that same light becomes concentrated, it can cut through steel. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention produces weak results. Focused attention produces extraordinary results. The problem is that modern society trains us to scatter our attention. Every notification teaches impatience. Every interruption weakens concentration. Every distraction trains the brain to seek novelty instead of mastery. Over time, we become addicted to stimulation. Silence feels uncomfortable. Boredom feels unbearable. Focus feels difficult. But there was a time when human beings could sit quietly and think deeply. Inventors did it. Scientists did it. Writers did it. Entrepreneurs did it. Many of history's greatest breakthroughs came from uninterrupted concentration. Not from multitasking. Not from endless meetings. Not from checking messages every few minutes. But from deep, sustained thought. And here's the exciting part. Deep work is not a talent. It is a skill, which means anyone can develop it. You don't need a higher IQ. You don't need better genetics. You don't need special connections. You simply need to train your ability to focus. Think about physical fitness. Nobody walks into a gym and lifts the heaviest weight on day one. Strength is built gradually. Focus works exactly the same way. Every time you resist distraction, you strengthen your concentration. Every time you stay focused despite boredom, your mental endurance grows. Every time you protect your attention, your brain becomes stronger. Slowly, consistently, powerfully. Now imagine yourself 5 years from today. There are 2 possible futures. In the first future, nothing changes. You continue reacting to notifications. You continue scrolling. You continue allowing distractions to control your day. 5 years pass. Your goals remain unfinished. Your potential remains untapped. Your dreams remain distant. In the second future, you make a different choice. You learn to focus. You learn to work deeply. You learn to protect your attention. Day after day, month after month, year after year, the results begin to compound. Your skills improve. Your confidence grows. Your opportunities expand. Your life transforms. Not because of luck, not because of magic, but because you learned a skill that most people never master. The ability to focus on what truly matters. And that skill can change everything. This is the power of deep work. This is the skill that separates creators from consumers, builders from spectators, leaders from followers. And by the end of this journey, you will understand exactly how to develop it for yourself. Because in a world full of distractions, focus has become a superpower. And those who master it become unstoppable. Part 2. Why most people never reach their potential. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you told yourself that you were going to change your life? Maybe it was the beginning of a new year. Maybe it was after watching an inspiring video. Maybe it was after seeing someone else achieve something you wanted. You felt motivated, excited, determined. You promised yourself that this time would be different. You would wake up earlier, work harder, learn new skills, start that business, write that book, build that dream. And for a few days, everything seemed possible. Then reality arrived. A notification interrupted your focus. A text message demanded your attention. A social media app pulled you away. A small distraction became a large distraction. And before long, you found yourself back where you started. Not because you lacked ambition. Not because you lacked intelligence. But because you lacked something far more important. Sustained focus. Most people believe success is about motivation. But motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you feel motivated. Other mornings you don't. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel exhausted. If success depended entirely on motivation, very few people would achieve anything meaningful. The truth is that extraordinary achievement comes from something deeper. It comes from the ability to stay focused long after motivation fades away. This is why deep work matters so much. It gives you a system that works even when you don't feel inspired. Think about the greatest accomplishments in history. The books that changed the world. The companies that transformed industries. The scientific discoveries that advanced civilization. None of them were created during 5-minute bursts of attention. They required months, sometimes years, of concentrated effort. The problem is that modern life encourages the exact opposite behavior. We live in a culture of constant interruption. Every app is designed to keep you engaged. Every platform wants your attention. Every notification tells your brain that something more interesting might be happening elsewhere. And slowly, your mind becomes trained to seek distraction. Imagine trying to read a book. After 5 minutes, you check your phone. You return to reading. 3 minutes later, another notification appears. You check it. Then another. Then another. What happens? You never enter a state of deep concentration. Your attention remains fragmented. Your mind never fully engages with the material. Now imagine doing this every day for years. Eventually, concentration begins to feel impossible. Many people assume they have an attention problem. In reality, they have a training problem. Their brains have been trained to expect constant stimulation. And whatever the brain repeatedly practices becomes stronger. Practice distraction. Become distracted. Practice focus. Become focused. The brain adapts to whichever behavior you reinforce. This is one of the most important ideas in deep work. Your attention is not fixed. It is trainable. Every day, you are teaching your brain something. The question is, what are you teaching it? Are you teaching it to jump from one thing to another? Or are you teaching it to stay locked onto a single goal? Because those two paths lead to very different lives. Let's imagine two people. Both have the same intelligence. The same opportunities. The same resources. The same amount of time. The first person spends most of the day reacting. Reacting to emails. Reacting to notifications. Reacting to social media. Reacting to whatever appears on a screen. The second person spends several hours every day working. Deeply. Learning. Building. creating, improving. At first, the difference seems small. A few focused hours here. A few distracted hours there. But time magnifies everything. After 1 year, the gap grows. After 3 years, it becomes obvious. After 5 years, it becomes enormous. One person has developed valuable skills. The other has accumulated endless distractions. One person has built expertise. The other has built habits of interruption. One person has transformed their future. The other wonders why nothing changed. This is the hidden power of deep work. The benefits compound. Just like investing money. Small improvements repeated consistently create extraordinary results. A single focused session may not seem life-changing. Neither will a week, or even a month. But years of concentrated effort can completely transform who you become. Think about elite athletes. Nobody becomes a champion overnight. They train daily. Small improvements accumulate. Eventually, the results appear extraordinary. But the process was ordinary. The same principle applies to learning, to business, to creativity, to success. The people we admire are not necessarily more talented than everyone else. Many simply spent more time in deep concentration. While others were distracted, they were practicing. While others were scrolling, they were learning. While others were consuming, they were creating. And over time, the gap became impossible to ignore. This realization can be uncomfortable. Because it means we cannot blame everything on circumstances. It means we must take responsibility for where our attention goes. But it is also empowering. Because if focus can be trained, then improvement is possible. No matter where you are today. No matter how distracted you've become. No matter how many years you've wasted. You can start rebuilding your focus. Right now. Today. This moment. The first step is awareness. Notice how often your attention gets pulled away. Notice how frequently you reach for your phone. Notice how difficult it feels to sit quietly without stimulation. Don't judge yourself. Simply observe. Because awareness creates choice. And choice creates change. Most people never stop long enough to examine their habits. They operate on autopilot. They live reactively. They surrender control of their attention without realizing it. But once you become aware, everything changes. You begin to see distractions for what they truly are. Not harmless interruptions, but thieves. Thieves that steal time. Thieves that steal focus. Thieves that steal potential. Every unnecessary distraction takes a small piece of your future. A few minutes today. A few minutes tomorrow. A few minutes next week. Eventually, those minutes become months. Then years. And suddenly, opportunities are gone. Dreams remain unfinished. Potential remains unrealized. This is why protecting your attention is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. Because your life is ultimately the sum of what you pay attention to. If your attention goes to meaningless things, your life becomes filled with meaningless things. If your attention goes to growth, learning, and creation, your life begins to reflect those priorities. The direction of your attention determines the direction of your future. And that future is being shaped right now. With every choice. With every distraction resisted. With every moment of focus protected. With every decision to work deeply instead of reactively. You are becoming someone. The question is, who are you becoming? And are your daily habits leading you toward that person? Because the life you want is built one focused hour at a time. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner everything begins to change. Part 3. The hidden formula behind elite performance. Why do some people seem to achieve extraordinary results while others struggle to make progress? Why can one person master a difficult skill in a few years while another remains stuck for decades? Why do some individuals rise to the top of their fields while countless others remain average? Many people assume the answer is talent. They believe successful people were simply born different. Smarter. More gifted. More fortunate. But when researchers study elite performers, they often discover something surprising. The difference is rarely talent alone. The difference is usually the quality and intensity of their focus. Think about a world-class musician. When you see them perform, it looks effortless. The movements are smooth. The performance is flawless. The skill appears almost magical. But what you don't see are the thousands of hours spent practicing in complete concentration. Hour after hour. Day after day. Year after year. Not casually. Not while multitasking. Not while checking notifications. but with total focus. This is what deep work makes possible. It allows you to push your abilities beyond ordinary limits. Cal Newport explains that deep work helps people achieve two things faster than almost anything else. First, it helps you learn complicated things quickly. Second, it helps you produce high-quality work at an elite level. These two abilities are becoming more valuable every year. The modern economy rewards people who can learn difficult skills and create valuable results. The faster you can learn, the more opportunities become available. The better you can perform, the more valuable you become. Deep work accelerates both. Imagine trying to learn programming, or graphic design, or video editing, or digital marketing, or a new language. Most people approach learning in a distracted state. They watch a tutorial, pause it, check social media, return to the lesson, answer a message, watch another video, scroll again, repeat. Hours pass. Very little sticks. Now imagine someone learning differently. They silence every distraction, close every unnecessary tab, put their phone away, and spend 2 uninterrupted hours fully immersed in the subject. Who do you think learns faster? The answer is obvious. Focused attention creates stronger learning. The brain forms deeper connections. Information moves more effectively into long-term memory. Understanding becomes clearer. Skills improve faster. This is why deep work is often described as a superpower. Because in a distracted world, sustained concentration has become rare. And rare skills are valuable. Think about professional athletes. They don't become elite because they occasionally practice. They become elite because they practice with intensity. The same principle applies to mental work. A focused hour is often worth more than several distracted hours. 1 hour of complete concentration can accomplish what an entire afternoon of fragmented attention cannot. This is a difficult truth for many people to accept. Because being busy feels productive. Answering emails feels productive. Attending meetings feels productive. Checking notifications feels productive. But activity is not the same as progress. Motion is not the same as achievement. You can spend all day moving and still go nowhere. Deep work forces you to focus on what actually matters. It removes the illusion of productivity and replaces it with real progress. This is where many people become uncomfortable. Because deep work is demanding. It requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires patience. Your brain will resist it at first. After years of constant stimulation, silence feels strange. Concentration feels difficult. Your mind will search for distractions. It will tell you to check your phone. It will tell you to open another tab. It will tell you to take a quick break. But every time you resist that urge, something important happens. You are strengthening your ability to focus. You are training mental endurance. You are building a skill that most people never develop. Think of your attention like a spotlight. Wherever the spotlight shines, energy follows. Growth follows. Results follow. The problem is that many people allow their spotlight to move constantly. A few seconds here, a few minutes there, never staying long enough to create meaningful progress. Deep work teaches you to hold the spotlight steady, to remain focused on one important objective, to ignore distractions, to stay with the problem long enough to solve it. And that ability changes everything. History provides countless examples. Great inventors, great scientists, great writers, great entrepreneurs. Many of them shared one common trait. They spent long periods of time thinking deeply. They protected their attention. They valued concentration. They understood something that modern society often forgets. Breakthroughs require focus. Innovation requires focus. Mastery requires focus. Success requires focus. Nobody accidentally becomes exceptional. Excellence is built through sustained effort directed toward meaningful goals. Deep work provides the environment where excellence can grow. Imagine planting a seed. If you constantly dig it up, move it around, and interrupt its growth, it never becomes a tree. Your skills work the same way. They need uninterrupted time to develop. They need attention. They need consistency. And most importantly, they need depth. This is why shallow work is dangerous. Shallow work creates the illusion of progress. It keeps you busy. It fills your calendar. It makes you feel productive. But often, it produces little value. Deep work is different. Deep work creates results that matter. Results that improve your career. Results that improve your business. Results that improve your future. Results that separate you from the crowd. The most successful people understand this. They know that their greatest asset is not their time. It is their attention. Because time alone changes nothing. Everyone receives 24 hours each day. The difference lies in how those hours are used. One person spends them reacting. Another spends them creating. One spends them consuming. Another spends them learning. One spends them distracted. Another spends them focused. And over time, those choices determine their destiny. This is why deep work is not merely a productivity technique. It is a philosophy, a way of living, a commitment to directing your energy toward what truly matters, a refusal to let distractions dictate your future, a decision to invest in growth instead of entertainment, a choice to become better when it would be easier to remain comfortable. Because comfort rarely creates greatness. Growth often requires discomfort. It requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires focus. But the rewards are extraordinary. Every hour spent in deep work becomes an investment. An investment in your skills. An investment in your future. An investment in the person you are becoming. And unlike many investments, the returns continue to compound for years. The knowledge stays with you. The skills stay with you. The discipline stays with you. The confidence stays with you. That is the hidden formula behind elite performance. Not talent alone. Not luck. Not motivation. But focused effort applied consistently over time. And once you understand that truth, you stop searching for shortcuts. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop hoping success will magically arrive. Instead, you begin building it. One focused session at a time. One deep hour at a time. One meaningful day at a time. Because greatness is not created in a single moment. It is created through thousands of moments of concentration. Moments that most people waste. Moments that extraordinary people protect. And that difference changes everything. Part 4. Training your brain for deep focus. At this point, you might be thinking, deep work sounds powerful. Focused people clearly have an advantage. But how do I actually do it? How do you focus deeply in a world designed to distract you? How do you train your mind after years of constant interruptions? How do you develop a skill that most people seem to have lost? The answer begins with understanding one simple truth. Your brain is trainable. Just as muscles adapt to exercise, your mind adapts to how you use it. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are training your brain. The only question is, what are you training it to do? If you spend hours jumping between apps, your brain becomes better at switching attention. If you constantly interrupt yourself, your brain becomes better at being interrupted. If you repeatedly seek stimulation, your brain becomes addicted to stimulation. The brain strengthens whatever it practices. This is both the problem and the solution. Because if distraction can be learned, focus can also be learned. Think about someone who has never exercised before. The first workout feels difficult. Their muscles burn. Their body feels weak. They become tired quickly. But after weeks of consistent training, things begin to change. Movements become easier. Strength increases. Endurance improves. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. Deep focus works exactly the same way. The first time you attempt deep work, it may feel uncomfortable. Your mind will wander. You will feel restless. You will want to check your phone. You will look for excuses to stop. This is normal. You are not failing. You are simply experiencing the effects of mental conditioning. Your brain has been trained for distraction. Now you are retraining it for focus. And like all training, progress takes time. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting immediate perfection. They sit down to focus. Their attention drifts after 10 minutes. Then they conclude they are incapable of concentration. Nothing could be further from the truth. Focus is not something you either have or don't have. It is something you develop. The goal is not perfection. The goal is improvement. Start small. Very small. Even 30 minutes of uninterrupted concentration can be transformative. Choose one important task. Remove distractions. Set a timer. And work on that task until the timer ends. No social media. No messages. No multitasking. Just complete focus. At first, it may feel surprisingly difficult. But that difficulty is a sign of growth. Every minute spent resisting distraction strengthens your ability to concentrate. Every focused session builds mental endurance. Every act of discipline rewires your brain. Now here's something important. Deep work requires intention. You cannot simply hope it happens. You must create conditions that make focus possible. Imagine trying to sleep in a room filled with loud music, bright lights, constant interruptions. Good sleep would be nearly impossible. Deep work is no different. Your environment matters. Look around your workspace. Does it encourage focus, or does it encourage distraction? How many tabs are open? How many notifications are active? How often does your phone demand attention? Many people unknowingly create environments that sabotage concentration. Then they wonder why focus feels impossible. Successful deep workers do the opposite. They design their environment around attention. They remove unnecessary distractions before work begins. They eliminate temptations. They reduce interruptions. They make focus easier. Because they understand an important principle. Willpower is limited. Environment is powerful. Instead of constantly fighting distractions, they remove distractions altogether. Think about your phone. For many people, it has become the largest obstacle to concentration. One notification can destroy momentum. One quick check can become 20 minutes of scrolling. One interruption can break a state of deep focus. Research has repeatedly shown that after an interruption, it can take significant time to fully regain concentration. This means the cost of distraction is often much greater than people realize. The interruption itself may last seconds, but the recovery can take minutes, sometimes longer. That is why deep work requires boundaries. Protective walls around your attention. When you begin a focus session, commit completely. Treat your attention as something valuable. Because it is. Imagine a professional athlete preparing for a championship. Would they spend training sessions constantly checking social media? Would they interrupt every practice to answer random messages? Of course not. They understand that excellence demands concentration. Your goals deserve the same level of commitment. Whether you want to build a business, learn a skill, write a book, create videos, improve your career, or transform your life, the principle remains the same. Deep focus creates deep results. Another critical lesson from Cal Newport is the importance of scheduling deep work. Many people say, "I'll focus when I feel like it," but that approach rarely works. Because distractions always find a way to appear. There is always another notification, another email, another reason to delay. Instead, schedule deep work like an important appointment. Because it is. Choose a specific time. Protect it. Honor it. Treat it as non-negotiable. The more consistently you do this, the stronger the habit becomes. And habits are powerful. Eventually, your brain begins to recognize the pattern. The moment you sit down, it knows what to do. Focus becomes easier. Concentration becomes deeper. Productivity increases naturally. This is where many people experience a breakthrough. They realize that focus is not about forcing themselves every day. It is about building systems that make focus automatic. Successful people don't rely solely on motivation. They rely on routines. Because routines reduce decision-making. And fewer decisions mean more mental energy for meaningful work. Think about some of the most productive people in history. Many followed strict routines. They worked at specific times, in specific places, with specific rituals, not because they were obsessed with rules, but because they understood the power of consistency. Consistency turns difficult actions into normal behavior. And normal behavior creates extraordinary results. Another important skill is learning to tolerate boredom. This may sound strange, but it is essential. Most people cannot sit quietly for a few minutes without reaching for stimulation. A phone, a video, a message, something, anything. Their minds have become conditioned to avoid boredom at all costs. But deep work requires the opposite. It requires the ability to stay present even when excitement disappears. Because meaningful work is not always exciting. Sometimes it is repetitive. Sometimes it is challenging. Sometimes it is frustrating. Sometimes it is slow. But those moments often lead to the greatest breakthroughs. If you constantly escape discomfort, you never stay with a problem long enough to solve it. You never stay with a skill long enough to master it. You never stay with a dream long enough to achieve it. Learning to tolerate boredom is actually learning to tolerate growth. And growth is rarely comfortable. The good news is that every time you resist the urge for instant stimulation, your focus becomes stronger. Every time you remain present, your concentration deepens. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are building a more powerful mind. Slowly, Patiently. Consistently. One session at a time. One day at a time. One choice at a time. And eventually, something remarkable happens. The thing that once felt difficult begins to feel natural. Focus becomes easier. Distractions become less tempting. Your mind becomes calmer, clearer, stronger. You begin accomplishing more in fewer hours. You begin producing higher quality work. You begin experiencing what Cal Newport calls deep work. Not occasionally, but regularly. And when that happens, your entire life starts to change. Because the ability to focus deeply is not just a productivity skill. It is a life-changing advantage. An advantage available to anyone willing to train for it, including you. Part 5. The dangerous cost of social media and shallow work. Imagine that someone stole 2 hours from you every single day. Not once, not twice, but every day, week after week, month after month, year after year. How would you feel? You would probably be angry. You would demand those hours back. You would recognize immediately that something valuable had been taken from you. But what if I told you that this happens to millions of people every day? And most of them don't even notice. The thief isn't a person. The thief is distraction. More specifically, it is the endless stream of digital distractions that consume attention without creating meaningful value. Social media, endless scrolling, constant notifications, short-form videos, infinite feeds. The modern world has perfected the art of keeping people distracted. And it does so by exploiting one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. Novelty. Human beings are naturally curious. We want to know what's new. What's happening. What someone said. What someone posted. What we might be missing. This instinct was useful for survival thousands of years ago. But in today's digital world, it has become a vulnerability. Every refresh brings new information. Every scroll reveals something different. Every notification creates anticipation. And slowly, without realizing it, people become trapped in a cycle of constant stimulation. The problem is not that social media is evil. The problem is that most people use it without intention. Instead of controlling the tool begins controlling them. Think about how often people unlock their phones without a specific reason. They aren't searching for information. They aren't solving a problem. They aren't creating anything. They're simply looking for stimulation. A quick escape from boredom. A brief hit of entertainment. A temporary distraction. The behavior feels harmless. But over time, it comes with a hidden cost. Every moment spent consuming distractions is a moment not spent building your future. Every hour spent scrolling is an hour not spent learning. Not spent creating. Not spent improving. Not spent growing. And those hours add up faster than most people realize. Let's do a simple thought experiment. Imagine someone spends 3 hours every day scrolling through social media. 3 hours doesn't sound extreme. Many people spend far more. 3 hours a day becomes 21 hours a week. That becomes over 1,000 hours every year. 1,000 hours. Think about what could be accomplished with 1,000 focused hours. A new language. A profitable business. Professional level skills. A book. A YouTube channel. A career transformation. A complete reinvention of yourself. The tragedy is not that people lack potential. The tragedy is that their potential is buried beneath distraction. This is exactly why Cal Newport challenges the common assumption that every digital tool is worth using. Most people ask, what benefits does this tool provide? But Newport suggests a different question. Does this tool significantly support the things that matter most to me? That small shift changes everything. Because every tool comes with both benefits and costs. Social media can help you connect with people. But it can also destroy focus. It can provide information. But it can also consume attention. It can offer opportunities. But it can also become an addiction. The key is intentional use. Not automatic use. Many successful people are extremely selective about where they invest their attention. They understand that attention is finite. Every minute spent on one activity is a minute unavailable for another. Every yes is also a no. When you say yes to endless scrolling, you are often saying no to your goals. When you say yes to distractions, you are often saying no to growth. When you say yes to shallow entertainment, you may be saying no to meaningful achievement. This doesn't mean you must eliminate every form of leisure. Deep work is not about becoming a machine. It is not about working every waking hour. It is about being intentional. There is a huge difference between purposeful relaxation and mindless distraction. Purposeful relaxation restores energy. Mindless distraction drains it. Purposeful relaxation helps you recover. Mindless distraction often leaves you feeling empty. One creates clarity. The other creates noise. And noise is the enemy of deep work. The modern world is filled with noise. Constant opinions. Constant updates. Constant alerts. Constant interruptions. Most people are drowning in information, yet starving for wisdom. Because information alone does not create progress. Attention does. What matters is not how much information enters your mind. What matters is what you do with it. A person who consumes endlessly but creates nothing remains stuck. A person who learns, applies, and builds continues moving forward. This is why deep work emphasizes creation over consumption. Creating requires effort. Creating requires focus. Creating requires patience. But creation changes your life. Consumption rarely does. Imagine two people. The first spends 5 years consuming content, watching videos, reading comments, following trends, observing what others are doing. The second spends 5 years creating, building projects, learning skills, practicing consistently, publishing work, improving steadily. Which person will have transformed their life? The answer is obvious. Yet every day, countless people choose consumption over creation. Not because they intend to, but because distraction is easier. And easy choices often create difficult futures. Difficult choices often create easier futures. Deep work asks you to choose the difficult path today. The path of focus. The path of discipline. The path of intentionality. Because that path leads somewhere meaningful. One of the greatest myths of modern culture is that multitasking is a valuable skill. Many people wear it like a badge of honor. They pride themselves on doing several things at once. But research repeatedly shows that multitasking reduces performance. The brain does not truly perform multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Instead, it rapidly switches attention. And every switch comes with a cost. Energy is lost. Focus is weakened. Performance declines. Imagine trying to dig 10 shallow holes at once. You make little progress. Now imagine digging one hole deeply. Eventually, you reach something valuable. The same principle applies to your work. Depth creates results. Shallowness creates activity. And activity without progress is one of the greatest traps in modern life. This is why deep work is ultimately about reclaiming ownership of your attention. Because if you do not decide where your attention goes, someone else will. An algorithm will decide. A notification will decide. A platform will decide. A stranger's content will decide. And little by little, your life will be shaped by forces you never consciously chose. But the moment you begin protecting your focus, everything changes. You become intentional. You become selective. You become purposeful. Instead of reacting to the world, you begin shaping your own future. You stop asking, "What do I feel like doing right now?" and start asking, "What will move my life forward?" That question alone can change everything. Because successful people are not necessarily those who have more time. They are often people who use their attention more wisely. They understand that attention is the foundation of achievement. And they guard it carefully. Like a priceless asset. Because it is. Your attention determines what you learn, what you build, who you become, and ultimately, the life you create. So the next time you reach for your phone without thinking, pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me build the future I want? Or is it stealing time from the person I hope to become? That single question may be one of the most important questions you ever ask. Because your future is built by what you repeatedly pay attention to. And every moment of attention is a vote for the life you are creating. Part 6. Embracing Boredom, the Forgotten Secret of Extraordinary Focus. What do you do when you are bored? Be honest. The moment you find yourself waiting in line, sitting in traffic, standing in an elevator, waiting for a friend, or simply having a few moments with nothing to do, what happens? For most people, the answer is immediate. They reach for their phone. Almost automatically. Without thinking. Without questioning. Without even realizing it. The movement has become a reflex. A habit so deeply ingrained that it feels natural. But according to Cal Newport, this habit may be one of the biggest obstacles to deep work. Because every time you eliminate boredom with instant stimulation, you teach your brain an important lesson. You teach it that boredom must be avoided. You teach it that silence is unacceptable. You teach it that every moment of discomfort should be replaced with entertainment. And slowly, your mind loses the ability to stay present. It loses the ability to sit with difficulty. It loses the ability to concentrate for long periods of time. Think about what happens when you begin working on a challenging task. Maybe you're learning a new skill, writing an article, building a business, studying for an exam, editing a video. At first, everything feels fine. Then the work becomes difficult. Your brain encounters resistance. You don't know the answer. Progress slows down. Confusion appears. And suddenly, a familiar urge emerges. The urge to escape. The urge to check your phone. The urge to open another tab. The urge to seek stimulation. Why? Because your brain has been trained to avoid discomfort. And meaningful work often contains discomfort. This is where most people give up. Not because they aren't capable. Not because they lack intelligence. But because they have never learned how to stay with discomfort long enough to break through it. Every breakthrough has a moment of struggle before it happens. Every skill has a stage where you feel incompetent. Every goal has periods where progress seems invisible. If you constantly run away from those moments, you never reach the rewards waiting on the other side. This is why boredom matters. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is training. Think of boredom as a mental gym. Every time you resist the urge for instant stimulation, you strengthen your focus. Every time you remain present without distraction, you increase your mental endurance. Every time you sit quietly with your thoughts, you teach your brain that it does not need constant entertainment. And that lesson is incredibly powerful. Most people spend their lives reacting. Reacting to alerts. Reacting to messages. Reacting to content. Reacting to whatever appears on a screen. Very few people spend time thinking deeply. Very few people spend time reflecting. Very few people spend time alone with their own thoughts. Yet some of the greatest ideas in history emerged from silence. Not noise. Silence. Think about famous inventors, scientists, writers, entrepreneurs. Many of them deliberately created space for uninterrupted thought. They walked. They reflected. They sat quietly. They allowed their minds to wander productively. Because creativity often emerges when the mind has room to breathe. The problem is that modern life rarely gives us that room. The moment a gap appears, we fill it. A moment of silence becomes a video. A spare minute becomes social media. A waiting period becomes entertainment. And while that may seem harmless, something valuable is lost. The opportunity to think. The opportunity to reflect. The opportunity to discover ideas that only emerge in stillness. Cal Newport argues that if you want to master deep work, you must become comfortable with boredom. You must stop treating every idle moment as a problem to solve. You must learn how to exist without constant stimulation. This sounds simple, but in today's world, it is revolutionary. Try a small experiment. The next time you are waiting for something, leave your phone in your pocket. Do nothing. Simply observe. Watch your surroundings. Pay attention to your thoughts. Allow yourself to be bored. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. You may feel restless. Your mind may search desperately for stimulation. That's normal. You are experiencing withdrawal from distraction. But if you stay with it, something interesting happens. The discomfort begins to fade. Your thoughts become clearer. Your mind becomes calmer. And you realize something important. You don't actually need constant stimulation to feel okay. You've simply become accustomed to it. This realization is freeing. Because once you stop depending on constant entertainment, you regain control over your attention. You become less reactive, more deliberate, more intentional, more focused. And focus is where achievement begins. Consider the lives of elite performers. Whether in sports, business, science, or art, they all share a common trait. They can tolerate discomfort. They can continue working when the task becomes difficult. They can stay focused when others become distracted. They can remain patient when results are slow. This ability gives them an enormous advantage. Because most people quit the moment discomfort appears. Most people seek relief instead of growth. Most people choose easy now instead of better later. But every meaningful achievement requires delayed gratification. You plant a seed today. You enjoy the harvest later. You study today. You gain expertise later. You practice today. You achieve mastery later. You focus today. You succeed later. The problem is that modern technology conditions us for the opposite mindset. Everything becomes instant. Instant entertainment. Instant communication. Instant answers. Instant gratification. And while convenience can be useful, it often weakens patience. It weakens perseverance. It weakens the ability to work through difficulty. Deep work requires the opposite. It requires patience. It requires persistence. It requires the willingness to stay with a problem longer than most people are willing to stay. Imagine a miner searching for gold. He digs. Nothing. He digs again. Still nothing. Another day passes. Still no gold. Many people would quit, but the miner who continues eventually reaches something valuable. Deep work follows the same principle. The greatest rewards often appear after the period of greatest difficulty. The breakthrough often comes after the frustration. The solution often comes after the struggle. The achievement often comes after the boredom. But only for those who stay long enough. This is why embracing boredom is not merely about reducing phone usage. It is about building resilience. Mental resilience. The ability to remain focused despite discomfort. The ability to remain present despite temptation. The ability to continue despite resistance. And that resilience becomes a competitive advantage. Because while others are constantly distracted, you remain focused. While others seek immediate gratification, you invest in long-term growth. While others jump from one stimulation to another, you stay committed to meaningful work. Over time, the gap becomes enormous. One person develops depth. The other develops dependency on distraction. One person builds mastery. The other builds habits of escape. One person creates. The other consumes. And eventually, their lives reflect those choices. The truth is simple. The quality of your focus depends on your ability to tolerate boredom. If you cannot sit with boredom, you will struggle to achieve depth. If you cannot achieve depth, you will struggle to produce exceptional results. But if you learn to embrace boredom, if you learn to resist the urge for constant stimulation, if you learn to remain present when your brain wants to escape, you unlock a level of concentration that most people never experience. And in a world obsessed with distraction, that ability is priceless. Because the future belongs to those who can focus. And focus begins where distraction ends. Part 7. The discipline of eliminating shallow work and reclaiming your life. Imagine waking up tomorrow with complete clarity. You know exactly what matters. You know exactly what deserves your attention. You know exactly what moves your life forward. And most importantly, you stop wasting energy on things that don't. Sounds simple. Yet for most people, this is one of the hardest things they will ever do. Why? Because modern life is filled with what Cal Newport calls shallow work. Shallow work is the type of activity that keeps you busy but rarely creates significant value. It feels productive. It looks productive. But in reality, it often produces very little. Think about how many times you've spent an entire day working, only to end the day wondering what you actually accomplished. You answered emails. You checked messages. You attended meetings. You responded to notifications. You handled small tasks. You stayed busy from morning until night. Yet somehow, the important project remains unfinished. The skill you wanted to learn remains undeveloped. The business idea remains an idea. The goal remains a goal. This is the hidden danger of shallow work. It creates the illusion of progress. You feel occupied. You feel productive. You feel responsible. But deep down, nothing meaningful is moving forward. And over time, that illusion becomes expensive. Imagine a ship crossing the ocean. Every day it drifts just 1 degree off course. 1 degree doesn't seem important. Almost invisible. But after thousands of miles, that tiny deviation leads to a completely different destination. Life works the same way. Small daily distractions may seem harmless. But repeated over years, they dramatically alter your future. Every hour spent on low-value activities is an hour not invested in high-value growth. Every unnecessary interruption steals a little more momentum. Every day spent reacting instead of creating pushes meaningful progress further away. The frightening part, most people never notice. Because shallow work feels comfortable. It requires little concentration, little risk, little effort. And the human brain naturally prefers comfort. Deep work is demanding. Shallow work is easy. Deep work requires focus. Shallow work requires reaction. Deep work creates value. Shallow work consumes time. Given the choice, many people unconsciously choose the easier path. And that choice slowly shapes their lives. Think about your own daily routine. How much of your day is spent creating? And how much is spent reacting? How much time is spent building your future? And how much is spent maintaining the present? These questions matter. Because the future belongs to creators, not reactors. Creators produce. Reactors respond. Creators shape reality. Reactors adapt to whatever reality gives them. The people who accomplish extraordinary things spend a significant portion of their lives creating. Not consuming. Not reacting. Creating. Creating solutions. Creating businesses. Creating books. Creating content. Creating innovations. Creating opportunities. They understand something that most people overlook. The greatest rewards come from producing value, not merely processing information. This is why Cal Newport encourages us to become ruthless with our attention. Not careless. Not casual. Ruthless. Every activity should be questioned. Does this contribute to my goals? Does this create value? Does this move me forward? Or is it simply keeping me busy? That question can change your life. Because many activities survive only because nobody questions them. People attend meetings that accomplish nothing. Answer emails that don't matter. Participate in conversations that lead nowhere. Consume content that adds no value. And because everyone else is doing the same thing, it feels normal. But normal is not always effective. In fact, normal often leads to average results. If you want extraordinary results, you must become willing to make extraordinary decisions. One of those decisions is learning to say no. This is difficult, very difficult, because saying no feels uncomfortable. People don't want to disappoint others. They don't want to miss opportunities. They don't want to appear selfish. So they say yes. Yes to every request. Yes to every invitation. Yes to every distraction. Yes to every interruption. Until their lives become overcrowded with obligations. And eventually, there is no room left for what truly matters. The truth is that every yes comes with a hidden cost. When you say yes to one thing, you automatically say no to something else. Say yes to endless meetings. You say no to focused work. Say yes to distractions. You say no to progress. Say yes to low-value activities. You say no to meaningful growth. The most successful people understand this. They guard their time fiercely. Not because they are selfish, but because they understand the value of attention. They know that attention is limited. Once today's attention is spent, it cannot be recovered. Today's focus cannot be saved for tomorrow. Today's opportunity cannot always be recreated. That is why they protect it. And perhaps you should too. Now let's talk about something many people misunderstand. Productivity is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most. Many people attempt to improve their lives by adding more activities. More apps. More systems. More commitments. More goals. More responsibilities. But often, improvement comes from subtraction. Removing distractions. Removing unnecessary obligations. Removing activities that provide little value. Removing anything that steals attention from meaningful work. Imagine a sculptor creating a masterpiece. The sculpture emerges not by adding material, but by removing everything unnecessary. Success often works the same way. Sometimes the breakthrough comes not from doing more, but from eliminating what doesn't matter. Cal Newport calls this embracing depth. Choosing fewer things, but doing them better. Choosing quality over quantity. Impact over activity. Results over appearances. This mindset is powerful because it shifts your focus from being busy to being effective. And effectiveness changes everything. Imagine spending the next 5 years focused on what truly matters. Not scattered across dozens of distractions. Not trapped in endless shallow work. But consistently investing your energy in meaningful goals. How different would your life become? How much would you learn? How much would you create? How much would you grow? The answer is almost impossible to measure. Because focused effort compounds. Every skill builds upon previous skills. Every success creates new opportunities. Every achievement increases confidence. And over time, those gains multiply. This is why deep work is not merely a productivity strategy. It is a philosophy of intentional living. A commitment to directing your energy toward meaningful outcomes. A refusal to allow distractions to dominate your future. A decision to prioritize significance over convenience. Because convenience rarely creates greatness. Convenience rarely builds mastery. Convenience rarely transforms lives. Depth does. Focus does. Discipline does. And the people who understand this gain an enormous advantage. Not because they have more talent. Not because they have more luck. But because they spend more time doing what truly matters. That is the secret. Not doing everything. Doing the right things. Deeply. Consistently. Relentlessly. Because in the end, your future is not determined by everything you do. It is determined by the few things you do repeatedly. Choose those things wisely. Protect them fiercely. And watch how dramatically your life begins to change. Part 8. Building a deep work life and becoming unstoppable. We've come a long way. You've learned why focus is becoming increasingly rare. You've seen how distraction steals potential. You've discovered the hidden power of deep work. You've learned why boredom matters. Why shallow work is dangerous. Why attention is your most valuable asset. But now comes the most important question of all. What happens next? Because knowledge alone changes nothing. You can read every productivity book in the world. Watch every motivational video. Listen to every inspiring speech. And still remain exactly where you are. Why? Because information does not create transformation. Action does. The purpose of deep work is not to impress you with ideas. The purpose is to change the way you live. To change the way you think. To change the way you spend your days. Because your future is not created by what you know. It is created by what you repeatedly do. Think about that for a moment. Every day, you are building a life. Every hour is a brick. Every habit is a blueprint. Every decision shapes the person you are becoming. The question is, are you building intentionally? Or are you building accidentally? Many people drift through life. They react instead of choose. They follow distractions instead of priorities. They allow circumstances to dictate their actions. And years later, they wonder how they arrived somewhere they never intended to go. But you don't have to live that way. You can choose a different path. A path of intentionality. A path of focus. A path of depth. The first step is making a commitment. Not a temporary commitment. Not a commitment that lasts until next Monday. Not a commitment that disappears when motivation fades. A real commitment. A decision. The decision to treat your attention as something sacred. Because it is. Every achievement you will ever accomplish begins with attention. Every skill. Every relationship. Every goal. Every dream. Attention is the starting point. Without it, nothing grows. With it, almost anything becomes possible. Now imagine what your life could look like if you dedicated even 1 hour every day to deep work. Just 1 hour. One uninterrupted hour focused on something meaningful. A skill. A business. A project. A goal. 1 hour doesn't sound dramatic. But let's do the math. 1 hour a day becomes 7 hours a week. More than 360 hours a year. More than 1,800 hours over 5 years. 1,800 focused hours. Think about what could happen in that amount of time. You could master valuable skills. Launch a successful business. Write multiple books. Build an audience. Change careers. Transform your financial future. Transform your confidence. Transform your life. Not overnight, but gradually, powerfully, permanently. This is the magic of consistency. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years. And overestimate what they can achieve in 5 days. They want immediate results, immediate success, immediate rewards. But life rarely works that way. The greatest transformations are often invisible at first. Like planting a seed, nothing seems to happen. Days pass, weeks pass, maybe even months. Then eventually, growth appears. The same is true for deep work. At first, the results may seem small. A little more focus, a little more productivity, a little more discipline. But those gains compound, week after week, month after month, year after year, until one day, people begin asking a strange question. How did you become so successful? They see the results, but they didn't see the process. They didn't see the mornings you chose focus over distraction. They didn't see the moments you resisted temptation. They didn't see the hours of concentrated effort. They didn't see the sacrifices. They only see the outcome. But you know the truth. The outcome was built slowly. One deep session at a time. One disciplined choice at a time. One focused day at a time. That is how meaningful success is created. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Because deep work is not just about achievement. It's also about fulfillment. Many people believe happiness comes from relaxation alone. They dream of a life with no challenges, no effort, no responsibility. But study after study suggests something surprising. Human beings often feel most satisfied when fully engaged in meaningful work. When completely absorbed in a challenge. When using their abilities to create something valuable. When growing. When progressing. When contributing. Think back to moments when you felt proud of yourself. Chances are they weren't the moments when you were endlessly entertained. They were the moments when you accomplished something difficult, learned something valuable, overcame an obstacle, created something meaningful. That feeling comes from depth, from engagement, from purpose. And deep work helps create more of those moments. Because it connects you to what truly matters. It pushes you toward growth. It challenges you to become more capable, more disciplined, more focused, more intentional, and perhaps most importantly, more alive. There is something powerful about knowing that your life is moving forward. That your efforts matter. That your actions align with your goals. That each day contributes to something meaningful. Deep work makes that possible. Not because it guarantees success, but because it guarantees progress. And progress changes everything. Now imagine the future. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you look back on the choices you made today. What story do you want to tell? Do you want to say that distractions controlled your life? That notifications dictated your priorities? That entertainment consumed your attention? Or do you want to say that you took control? That you protected your focus? That you invested in growth? That you built something meaningful? That you became the person you were capable of becoming? The choice begins now, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because every day you delay is another day that could have been invested in your future. And while time can be spent, it can never be recovered. This moment matters. Today's choices matter. Today's focus matters. The future version of you is being created right now. With every decision, with every habit, with every action. So choose carefully. Choose intentionally. Choose depth. Choose growth. Choose focus. Because in a world where distraction has become normal, focus becomes extraordinary. In a world filled with noise, clarity becomes powerful. In a world addicted to instant gratification, patience becomes a competitive advantage. And in a world where most people never fully realize their potential, deep work becomes a pathway to greatness. Not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. Remember this: your attention shapes your reality. Your habits shape your future. Your focus shapes your destiny. Protect them, develop them, master them, and one day, you'll look back and realize that the most important skill you ever learned wasn't a business skill. It wasn't a technical skill. It wasn't a communication skill. It was the ability to focus on what truly mattered. Because once you master your attention, you begin to master your life. Thank you for listening, and remember, the future belongs to those who can focus. Before you go, remember this. Knowledge alone doesn't change your life. Action does. Every book you read, every lesson you learn, and every idea you discover only becomes valuable when you apply it. So don't just be a reader. Be an actionable reader. If you found value in this summary, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who wants to grow. Thank you for watching The Actionable Reader. Keep learning, keep growing, keep taking action. And I'll see you in the next book.